All
Yeah, that was
right.
heavy. Very
Yeah, well, it was
tough.
really, this is the stuff. And, hey, I've been immersing myself into this information. Thanks for turning me on to that. It was everything you said it was going to be.
Was it? Isn't he an entertaining and engaging
He is.
conversationalist?
I thought so too. I thought, some of the behind the scenes stuff that he wrote about, especially at the beginning where he talked about the article that he put out about those diplomats and American diplomats in China that had visited before and put the red flag out. I remember when I read that last year and I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? And little did I know that it was him writing that, and that he had caused a huge stir with the Secretary of State because of this whole mask thing. So I'm sure as time goes on, we're going to learn a lot more about what's happening there. But my concern is this is, the only way we're really going to ever know how that virus started is by going over there and doing the investigation. I know that that place has been cleaned. The evidence is gone. The people that know anything about it have been eliminated. And we're not going to get that story.
We're never going to get it at this point because they made it such a clown show in the beginning. So it's too late now. I
think the circumstantial evidence speaks for itself, though.
I do too, but you can't prove it.
No, you'll never be able to prove it.
So we would be speaking out of turn if we went and jumped to those assumptions, even though it looks like it's like 90%, everything's pointing in that direction. If you still can't prove it, it's kind of anti-American.
Well, there's no way you can prove it. But this is the thing is that, you say anti-American, and I get what you're saying there, but the fact is that we're not dealing with a country that's playing by the same rules whatsoever. And I think it would be a good thing to say, all right, well, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence here. So give us the evidence, or we're going to really think that you did it. Yeah. That's just logical. And of course, they're scared to do that. Because they know what's going to happen
for good reason.
They'll be punished. There'll be a punishment there, and it's always financial. This is crazy. Speaking of that, Nike coming out in the last week, the CEO saying that our company is of China and for China. They're an American company,
right?
So our corporations have been
China owns
sucked up into this. They
really all of their production takes place in China with probably slave labor, child labor.
Yeah, and that's it. I thought it was interesting. Again, Josh Rogan pulling up that information about Apple trying to look into, hey, well, we're hearing about slave labor. Can you tell us anything about it? And then they got financially punished. That nearly ruined them. And so this is...
I liked what he said. It was kind of funny. He's talking about all the spies in DC.
Oh yeah.
And Joe Rogan's like, well, can you spot them? And he laughs. He's like, well, yeah, some of them, look like right out of a cartoon. You see it kind of obviously. And they'll ask me to go out for drinks. And Joe's like, well, do you? And he goes, hell yeah.
Yeah,
he goes out for drinks with spies and talks to them.
That's got to be pretty interesting.
His life sounds really interesting. It really does.
It does. And then I thought about this myself, and I thought about okay, but that also means that, you're going to have these excitements, but you also have to rub shoulders with a lot of maybe undesirable people that you might just bring you down. You know what I mean?
He might disappear.
Yeah. Talk about being brought down.
Yeah. No, for real. He could very well disappear. Yeah.
Hey, so did you hear about this? We're talking about China, and something about the whole January 6th thing reminds me of just a lot of corruption and, I struggle when they say that it was a terror attack, because I don't know that that's accurate.
No, it's not. Insurrection is also, if insurrection is accurate, then all of the riots that have taken place over the last year were also insurrections.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk going on right now. Nancy Pelosi has put together a January 6th commission now, like a 9/11 commission.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything good is going to come out of this, because what we're seeing is that the people on the commission are all Democrats, except for Liz Cheney, and she was the one that she's obviously a Republican. She was stripped of her committee leadership position because of a lot of the comments that she is making. But she is definitely a person that's been very outspoken that Trump started the January 6th, whatever you call it. And I just feel like this is, and also she named Adam Schiff to the committee.
Oh God, how is Schiff still how does he even have a career these days?
So
after all of his Russia stuff for 3 years.
Well, and here's an author or a reporter that's saying, what's the argument for taking the January 6th commission seriously after putting Adam Schiff on it?
That's a good point. That's my
point. How can you take that seriously? And I mean, this is just all propaganda. I would like to know exactly what happened over there as well. But from the beginning, there's been all this really, I mean, from the very day it happened, all this really fishy stuff all around it. And it seems to be a tool that the left is using to eliminate any type of enemies.
Oh, dude, this is really crystal clear. And if you put this together with the latest arrest of Trump's accountant, or
yes,
for what? For like, it's so minor, kind of payroll tax evasion.
It was his car in his apartment.
I can't stand Trump, and I wish that he would just go away. I honestly do, so that we could get somebody that's more respectable and that is able to unite the parties and get back to sane politics. But it's clear that the Democrats are absolutely fear Trump, that he rocked the foundation of the swamp. Clear.
Yeah. And you brought up the accountant. The accountant is he's not a part of he wasn't a part of the Trump.
It's as flimsy as the impeachments. And it's desperate.
It is. The funny thing about this trial with this person is that it's unprecedented. The law doesn't go after companies over an individual's tax statements, and that's what's actually happening here. That's unprecedented. That doesn't happen. That's a special Trump provision right there. That's not a part of our system. And then secondly, over the last week, we also had Rudy Giuliani. The New York Supreme Court took the extraordinary step of suspending Rudy Giuliani from practicing law. And the court states that when he uses his, this is a quote, his large megaphone, the harm is magnified. One only has to look at the ongoing present public discord over the 2020 election, which erupted into violence, insurrection, and death on January 6, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol to understand the extent of the damage that can be done when the public is misled by false information about elections. This is a statement by the Attorney Grievance Committee, and they contend that the respondents' misconduct directly inflamed tensions that bubbled over into the events of January 6. So here they've been calling the whole election fraud debunked. I would say that anytime they say debunked, then that's a red flag to me now, because they've said debunked about everything else. And when they say debunked, probably look into it. But many people have said things about January 6th many people on the Democrat side said things about all the riots that we saw over the summer. None of those people are losing their legal status. This is a witch hunt. We've never seen anything like this. Look at what they did to Manafort. Look at what they did to Carter Page. Look at what they did to Flynn. They indiscriminately just prosecute people that are against them. And this goes right back into what Josh Rogan was talking about. What kind of society does that? And we're turning into this kind of society.
Our government's so corrupt.
Yeah, we don't want to be China, but it's becoming more every day. We're seeing this. And now here's another China-ism, is that now we're hearing the Democrats saying that the Republicans defunded the police.
I know, and people will believe that. They do the same thing all the time. If you say it 5 times, it becomes fact. They treat us with good reason like children. They really do.
I see that. So how's anybody going to believe that? They were saying, okay, so I was like, how could they say that? And so they're very clever. And they were saying,
really. No, not really.
When I say clever,
it's
usually an evil connotation there. The devil's clever, but he's not really the smartest. Anyway, so they're saying that the Republicans defunded the police by not approving the American Rescue Act or Rescue Plan. And the American Rescue Plan was going to give huge amounts of money to states like California for this whole COVID thing. But really, the reason the Republicans were standing against that particular act was because they saw this as a state bailout plan for states that had been fiscally irresponsible for decades before this, like California. And they saw this as really not right for the federal government to do. And really, I agree with that, but it was never earmarked for the police. That was never an earmark for the government. At the same time, you had people like Ayanna Pressley, and you had Cori Bush, and many others that were saying, defund the police, defund the police. Well, the American Rescue Plan had nothing to do with funding the police. Although I guess the money could be used for that, but there was never, the bill was never labeled a police funding mechanism. So this is such a long stretch to say this, but that's just it. We're living in a country now that is is very propaganda focused. And I mean, I'm glad there are people out there that are smart enough not to fall for this, but how many people is that really? I don't know if it's that many.
Well, the positive in this is the growing awareness of mainstream media, the inauthenticity of mainstream media. The ratings are down. It depends on which show you're looking at, but mostly CNN and MSNBC are down 60, 70%. But even Fox is down like 35 to 40%.
Yeah. Even though Fox is doing like twice as good as CNN, they're still not doing well either. And
because they publish a lot of BS and they discredit themselves.
All of them. That's why. That's exactly why. And especially now that Trump is not in office.
Oh, well,
because that's all they focused on.
CNN really dug their own grave with their war on Trump. Because, they got him to not get reelected, and look what happened to their ratings. They killed themselves.
They did. They shot themselves in the foot. But, he
was the golden goose.
Barry, much like our science community and our healthcare community, the journalism community has, over the last year and a half, has lost just a ton of credibility.
That's why
all of these institutions.
That's why I found him to be so engaging, is that he clearly, he lives by the journalist ethics that nobody else does anymore. Crystal and Sagar do, though. I mean, that's why they went on their own.
Yeah.
Their new show is called Breaking Points. Highly suggest everybody subscribe to that.
So I thought a lot about this, about Josh Rogan and being a columnist for the Washington Post. And as we know, that newspaper has been, you've got Bezos as the president of that, and they have a long history of propaganda. And I thought about Josh Rogan being over there, and how does that impact him? And I thought about some of the comments that he was making about Trump, idiot, a moron, and all this stuff. And of course, everybody over at the Post is probably talking like that all the time.
Oh, sure.
So you probably have to talk like that in order to be an employee of the Post. I don't know about that or not, but that's got to be the culture over there anyhow. I think about how the Washington Post was in the middle of taking down Nixon during that whole campaign, when Nixon won by the biggest landslide ever only months before, and within a few months he's resigning. And the Washington Post, with the whole deep throat thing, they were the ones in the very center of that whole thing. And some of the same players came out during the Trump impeachments from the Washington Post. Those same two reporters came back out, Bob Woodward and I forgot the other guy's name, but it's just an interesting history. And but at the same time, listening to the guy, you're right, seemed to be pretty clear-eyed about what was going on. And
I thought he was so engaging. I could listen to that guy's stories all day.
So another one I got in the news from this week, this one was a shocker to me, but not so shocking, was that Tucker Carlson came out this week to say that he had proof that the NSA was spying on him.
Yeah.
And it was the story was compelling regarding the whistleblower. Of course, the Biden administration saying that's not happening. The NSA is only supposed to be. The line is that the NSA only looks at foreign interference with our way of life and our American security. But what we are seeing with the NSA is that if they have a foreign target, that opens up the door to anybody that they're either communicating with or maybe communicating with, which gives a broad spectrum for the NSA to look at everything. I think that, whether this is true or not, I think a concerning thing that I think we have here in this country is our intelligence community and how powerful. Yeah, and how powerful the intelligence community is. Yeah, and we spent a lot of time last week talking about our First Amendment right of free speech. This has the potential of curtailing that free speech. That's what free speech. That's the enemy of free speech. Is people spying on you.
I just mentioned Crystal and Sagar. They had a good take on that about Tucker making that comment, and they said first of all, the way the NSA responded to that was very lawyerly.
It was odd, I thought.
Agreed. Like it was like carefully chosen words, because
it didn't deny that they were doing it.
Agreed. And what they said is basically the NSA spies on everyone. So they did this kind of shifty move verbally, but is Tucker Carlson under being investigated by them? Sure, along with probably 100 million other people in the United States. They are above the Constitution. They are above,
which is wrong, right? I mean, totally our intelligence community shouldn't be. Yeah. It's the frustrating part about that whole thing.
And I think there's deeper layers than the NSA that we don't know about. We didn't know about the NSA until Snowden outed them.
That's right.
Years ago. We never heard of them. I remember a meme going around back then. It was really funny. It said, "Oh my God, my hard drive crashed and the NSA won't give me a copy of it." Something like that. I didn't say it right, but you get the meaning. I thought it was really funny.
I think that is funny too. Hey, another decision by the Supreme Court this week has pretty serious ramifications. It is that the Supreme Court upholds Arizona voter fraud protections. So this is a big one. This is actually the last decision that they are making for their season, which I believe ends in September. So the government is on a fiscal year that ends in September. And so this is their last one. I guess they take a break in the summertime, which is kind of weird. You know, Congress takes a break in the summertime also. The reason is because of Washington, D.C. being in a swampland area and how humid it gets. So traditionally, since our founding, that's been the case. But of course, they didn't have air conditioning back then. So some of these things could probably change.
That's another thing Josh Rogan said is they don't like to work. And
yeah, they don't.
They're not going to give up a holiday. They're not going to give up free time. Not at all. They do not like to work.
Now, you know, it's funny. I was just talking about this with Anne Marie yesterday. It's like, this is the cushiest job ever. You know, when Joe Biden was talking about, it was commanding companies to pay people more in order to get them to accept the jobs. I thought, you know, here's a guy
that's those whispers, man.
You see, I told you that was true.
Creepy.
It is. It's creepy.
Doesn't anybody tell him that?
Well, apparently not, because this week he did it again. So either they're telling him not to do that and he's forgetting about it, but he looks crazy every single time he does it. He sounds crazy.
He's got a crazy look in his eyes when he does it.
I was going to the point where he's telling people to, you know, just pay them more, he says in a weird way. But the fact is this guy's been a government official for 50 years. He's never had to produce anything. He's not like you and me.
His brain is atrophied because he doesn't have to think, you know?
Well, sure he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't have to figure out, let's see, like you, what do I create in order to make a living? And for me, like, what I got to sell, I got to convince people to buy a product. This is production. We're producing. They don't do, all they do is stand around and try to look important and say very important things. And they don't even write their own speeches. Right. So what kind of job is that? And they're selling that. I mean, what is it? Dianne Feinstein selling her house in one of her houses that's up in Lake Tahoe for $41 million. How? Really? How does she have a $41 million house?
On $175,000 a year. Yeah.
One of her, that's just one of her places. That's not where she lives. That's just one of her places. So
lobbyists,
man, I smell a rat. Exactly. So back to the Supreme Court. They upheld the Supreme Court voter fraud protections. And so two things were on the line. It was this whole thing about ballot harvesting, where people collect ballots from people. Let's say, for instance, they can't get out of the house, so I'll come over and pick up your ballot and send it in. But this is an area of corruption. We've seen the films where people are supposedly ballot harvesting, but they're throwing a bunch of fake ballots in there and filling them out. That's one thing that's now illegal in Arizona. And the other one was this is what Judge Alito said: having to identify one's own polling place and then travel there to vote does not exceed the usual burdens of voting. On the contrary, these tasks are quintessential examples of the usual burdens of voting. So in other words, what they were saying was, if you change people were voting in precincts that weren't supposed to be, like, they would just go, like, they'd vote over here, but then they'd go vote over here and all these different voting places, and they can get away with it because there's no ID and everything. So they outlawed voting in any place except for your own precinct. And the thing is that people were trying to say, well, this has an undue burden on people of color. And what Alito is saying is, no, they send out your thing, your little voter thing, and it says on there where to vote, like, right? Because over the last 10 years, I've had to go to a bunch of different places, and I never said, hey, this is an undue burden on me because I'm black. That's what they're trying to say. Now, so the court did the right thing, and they said these are not violations of human rights in any kind of way. Well, now we're hearing the president come back and say that the court has done serious damage to voter rights. This is voter suppression. We are doubling down on this whole thing. And now they're talking about packing the court again.
Oh, boy. Yeah. I don't know. What are you going to do?
Flip a coin, I guess.
Yeah.
These things are happening, though, man. It's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's up with the fireworks situation over there? Are you going to go see fireworks for the 4th of July? I know you're having your barbecue tomorrow. You don't get into that, huh?
No, not at all. Frankly, I could pop my head out the window here and watch fireworks pretty much for the next 2 weeks. It's gotten really bad here in University Heights, where I'm at right now, over the last at least 5 years. Just the illegal fireworks that go on. And it bothers me so much because my dogs would be terrified, for one, but the other is that our houses are so close together. It's really dangerous. And the cops just don't really crack down on it at all. It's typical, very democratic community.
Yeah. So over here, we have a fireworks show at that park that's across from us, which is actually spectacular.
Sure.
It's one of the best fireworks shows. I'm not a huge fireworks guy, but this is pretty impressive for a small community. We live in Woodland Hills, a suburb of Los Angeles, and they just do a really nice job. And they close down the street right by my house and everything, and people bring their lawn chairs, and we all sit on this main street out here, which is kind of fun to do.
Well, that's cool. It's a good community.
It is, and it's very festive. Last year they had to cancel it, and I wasn't sure they were going to have it this year, but
I'm kind of surprised.
My neighbor just told me last week that they're having it, and I was surprised at my reaction. I actually got choked up. And it's really, I think it has to do with, gosh, we've been locked down for so long and everything. And it was right after they'd done the mask lift. So, it was like, oh my gosh, we're free. And then actually since then I found out I had to put my mask back on, but whatever. We're still having the fireworks show, and I think that's pretty cool. And, I think this is a good thing. This is,
it is, it's surprising,
but you're right. Last year, even though we didn't have the fireworks show, people protested and they shot off their own fireworks. And I think I heard more fireworks going off last 4th of July than I did any other year in my life. They were just but this time they were just happening all around us. So I don't know, maybe that's why the LAPD was cracking down earlier this week on that whole thing because of that. Because I do hear all kinds of crazy explosions, and it's the same way every 4th of July, but it seems to ramp up more than it has. A lot of these large explosions going off pretty much all throughout the night for the last week.
I know this is totally a different change of pace here. I just wondered if you heard about this article, this news item about this guy in Colorado. Some bad guy shot a cop in Colorado in a shootout. And this other guy heard the gunshots and went running to the scene, and he had a concealed carry. Right. And so he shot the guy. Okay. So the bad guy shot and killed the cop. And this other guy comes running to the rescue basically and shoots the bad guy. All right. Then more cops show up on the scene and kill the guy with the concealed carry that saved the day.
I heard that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. But also it's kind of, to me, like, man, what's the chances of all these people getting killed by that gun? Like, literally the chances of you dying from a gunshot being, that somebody being that good of a shot to shoot you and hit you in a place to kill you is so rare.
Yes.
And this is like a movie where everybody gets, you just go blam and people fall down dead, which is reality. But in this case, that's how that worked.
That is a really crazy story and very, very unfortunate. I am very sorry to hear that.
And I would say too, if the races were different, this would have been headlines all across America. And yet this was a side story.
You're exactly right. It's too bad that it's like that. It's definitely like that. Hey, I wanted to show you something, something that I was able to. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see.
You're cool. You're good. Good to go.
I think I can do this. Is this okay? Just share. All right. So take a look at this new ad by the NFL. I don't have any sound on this.
That's fine.
Football is gay.
Oh.
Lesbian.
Oh,
beautiful,
my God.
Clear life, exciting.
What?
Football.
Look, if you gotta go out and virtue signal in headlines.
Did you see the NFL logo?
Oh my God, I did just there. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
So the NFL probably supports the LGBTQ community, and then they have really sort of a public service statement here about the Trevor Project, which apparently it was saying that if an LGBTQ person has one accepting person, that the risk of suicide goes way down. I just think it's interesting that the NFL is weighing in on this, saying that football is gay. I don't know if that's what they said on their thing, but I mean, football's football. Football's not gay or nothing.
It's none
sexual.
of that. It's a sport.
It's a game.
It has nothing to do with that. It shouldn't have anything to do with that. They shouldn't be weighing in on that or any other kind of politics. It's a freaking game.
I was outside getting the mail the other day, and my neighbor came up to me and he said, "Hey, did you see the game tonight?" And I said, "Nah, I'm not watching sports anymore." And this is why. I'm just not. I love the game, but they've stolen it from me. They've made it
supposed to get away from this crap.
That's right. Why? I don't want politics. I don't want woke politics in my sports. I don't want any politics in my sports. I do want to. I do believe that there is an American tradition that we have, and they sing the national anthem. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I mean, it's a unity thing. We get to be together. We get to put away all of our differences and be together. And man, they're ruining it. They're taking it away.
Totally right.
I don't want. Go ahead.
It reminds me of that. I mentioned this before. I used to love that show. Now I can't think of it. All of a sudden, Schitt's Creek.
Oh my gosh, Barry. I'm so glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
It was so funny. And my favorite everybody's favorite character was the gay guy, the son. But it went so freaking woke by the 4th or 5th season, I had to stop watching it because it all became about him and his boyfriend. And they always had to be pawing each other and kissing in every scene. Now, mind you, the stars of the show were the parents, who are a couple, never saw them kiss or anything. There's the daughter, his sister, who also had a boyfriend the whole time. Maybe saw her, they'd kissed once in a great while as a hello or something, but it wasn't a thing. Never thought about it. Now, all of a sudden, I have to watch this gay couple pawing at each other and kissing in every scene. And I'm like, man, you just ruined the show. It used to be funny. I used to love the gay character. No problem here. I'm not a homophobe because I hate this being shoved down my throat now. So, go screw yourselves. That's how I feel about all this. Huh?
So I remember you talking about this and being really excited about the show, and then it took a turn, and you've spoken about this before. So I've always wanted to check out the show and see what it was about, and I noticed Anne Marie had it on recording on our our machine here. And I'm like, well, I want to watch it. And she goes, no, you got to watch it from the beginning. You can't just, look. And so we tried to, I didn't want to have to pay for the whole season to look at it because I wasn't sure if I liked it. But sure enough, we kept it on auto record. The beginning episode started coming on. So within the last 2 weeks, I've probably watched 25 episodes of Schitt's Creek. And it was the first ones, right? And I loved it. I love everything you said about it. I love the writing. It's very like sort of dark humor in many ways. This is a crazy family, man. I mean, they are the chemistry between the characters. Yes. It's brilliant. And I agree.
Brother and sister are hilarious together.
We were trying to decide who's our favorite character, and it took a few episodes, and we both landed on the son as well. Yeah. He's a brilliant actor. He really is.
So comfortable in his own skin, and that is attractive.
Yeah, and the star, the guy. He's been around, the father. What's his name again? I forget.
I can't. It'll come to me in a second.
I love him. He's so funny with the eyebrows and everything. Yeah. But that's really his son on the show, and they're similar looking. But I got to say, as good as the father is as an actor, his son has a supreme talent.
Absolutely.
But we just started to get into the episodes where his gay lover shows up, and now every episode everything you just said, it's like, well, it seems like they're forcing that, and for a political reason, and it's not. And I'm only at the beginning of this. Like we have. Just last weekend, 4 more episodes were recorded. We were all excited. Oh, we got to watch this. We couldn't just watch one. We had to watch all 4 of them right away. And then they were all gone. It was like, they're gone now. Yeah, exactly. And we got to wait a whole nother week because they don't come out until Saturdays. And but they're starting to go down that track.
You're pretty much done. You're pretty much.
Yeah, that's too bad. But
it is too bad.
Eugene Levy, that's his name.
That's right. Yeah, it's just not the same show at that point.
That's too bad. They had a good thing, but I can't imagine how hard it is to write that creatively, consistently. They just ran out of gas, apparently.
It's the Beverly Hillbillies in reverse, is what it is.
The whole situation of them being in that horrible motel. And just that they were living in the lap of luxury and everything. Now they got to live in this squalor.
Like most shows, it literally should be capped at 3 seasons because at that point you're jumping the shark.
I like the Chris Elliott character as well, the mayor.
And he's so
okay, so
it makes you so uncomfortable.
And he's such a weird guy, and they picked the perfect person.
He leans into
role.
It,
he does. Yeah. He does, and he's just okay. But it was a great show while it lasted. Yeah. I really, Anne Marie and I have really enjoyed that.
I have texted you several times, and Lisa always reminds me too that you guys got to watch that show. This Is Us.
Yeah, another show we tried to, it's one where we have to buy it in order to watch it. So we're trying to figure out how we can get it recorded here. Gotcha. But I definitely want to check that out because you guys are on fire as far as the recommendations go.
Yeah, it's the most unique show in an era of absolutely no originality. Everything's just a redo and a remake and doing a paint by numbers movie and series and all of this stuff. This show it hits on, first of all, you'll love it so much because it's all about this really great family. And it's a very family oriented show. And it's just surrounded by the love, the circles around the love of the father figure, who is this perfect man with all his flaws. And he died tragically, and so it's about dealing with that grief as well. And they do all of these look backs and into the future. They have the main cast, and then they have casted the same cast as teenagers and as little kids and and so it shows you why they are the way they are today.
I see.
By showing you what they went through. It's so ingenious. The writing, they must have psychologists on the writing staff for sure. It's because of just how on point they are, and they hit topics that nobody talks about. Like Randall is a Black kid that was adopted into this white family in basically white man's suburbia, and all of how that affected him through his entire life. Nobody's ever touched on something like that before. It's a big part of the show. And then he has his own family who is Black, and he's this absolutely OCD, overachieving person that deals with his anxiety and stuff like that. Nobody's ever dealt with that in a realistic, in-depth manner, and they do on the show all the time. The other guy, Kevin, is this really good-looking guy who goes from captain of the football team, quarterback, to being a movie star. Mm-hmm. He had his own TV series that launched him, and he becomes a movie star. They show you everything that he deals with in that manner. You got Kate, the very, very obese girl that they're only starting to deal with those issues and how she became that way, the anxieties, that her addiction to eating. Is this freaking amazing show?
So what genre is this? A drama? Is this
I guess it's kind of unique, but it's
interesting.
It is. You will love that show. And it's only got one more season. They're going to wrap it up because of the integrity they got to it.
Yes.
And they said, the lead writer said from the beginning that it would exhaust itself at this point. They're not going to jump the shark.
Good for them. That takes discipline, right?
Pay for the show, man. It's worth it.
Hey, I wanted to, and we're going to have to wrap up in a second, but I did see a movie. It's an older movie, and actually it's a remake of an older movie. But it's one of those where I heard it was a good movie, but for some reason I just never made the time to watch it. It's True Grit. And
I saw this. Who's in it?
What's the guy that played the dude on the Big Lebowski?
One of my favorite actors, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges was brilliant in this role. If you like Jeff Bridges, you'll love this movie because he is outstanding in this movie. John Wayne, he's playing a part that John Wayne played. I can't imagine John Wayne playing it any better than Jeff Bridges played it. I'm looking forward to seeing that movie, the older movie, but this is epic and so good. The story is amazing.
What's it about? Because I feel like
it's about this young girl, teenage girl back in the 1850s, whose father is killed out west, and she wants to find the killer and bring him to justice. So she finds this marshal who's sort of a bounty hunter who is a complete mess and pays him to hunt this guy down. But the catch is that she's got to come with him, and he doesn't want that at all. And so this amazing adventure happens through the story of how they go after this guy. It's an amazing adventure, great acting, great dialogue, and so I highly recommend it.
It's not ringing a bell with me, and
it is a great movie. If you get a chance to see it this weekend, do it. I
just wrote it down.
It's a wonderful movie.
I love a good Western, and I freaking love Jeff Bridges.
This is classic, man. But I wanted to just say one other thing, Barry, is that one thing I know about you is that you are a person that has really good taste, at least in my opinion, on shows, dialogue, on the writing. And you've always been that way. I remember when we were living together in college, you turned me on to Moonlighting, and I remember the exact thing you said to me before we started watching was, it's clever writing. And I never saw a show like that before, and it was exactly what you said. No, or since, right? I loved that show. Remember, it was like came on Tuesday nights, and we couldn't wait till the show came on.
And then more than half the time, they didn't have it because they always had all these problems with trying to produce that show. Remember, it was like always in turmoil. Like, damn it, it's not on this week.
We were mad every week. If the Browns lose and that moonlighting doesn't come on.
It only lasted 2 or 3 seasons. It imploded.
Yeah, it did. But man, I thought Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd, they were a great combination.
They were. And I know that Sybil Shepherd felt very jilted, like she didn't get the real star power and limelight that Bruce Willis went into the stratosphere.
He sure did. He sure did. I don't think
he went right into speaking of terrific writing, he went right into Die Hard. That original Die Hard, man, that remade the entire action series genre.
That was a good one.
First time that the lead in an action series, the hero, so to speak, he was actually vulnerable. He was afraid, because any time leading up to that, it was dun, dun, dun.
Right.
Go out, stand on a log and shoot everybody and they're all missing you and kind of, just dumb comic booky stuff. And then this one is very realistic, and it went over the top. It did, but he was vulnerable and he was afraid and he rose to the occasion. And that rewrote the entire action genre from there on.
Interesting. I did not know that. But I mean, when you think of all the great movies that guy has been in, it's hard to figure out which one is about. I was thinking that one too. That's one of my all-time favorites. But it's that other one with Mr. Glass, with Samuel L. Jackson, and I think it was called Mr. It was the one where he's got these. Bruce Willis has these superpowers. He's wearing that rain jacket, but he doesn't really know. And then
something monkey is in the title.
I don't know what it was. He's just been in so many good ones.
No, I think that's Unbreakable.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one, Unbreakable. I love that. And his little son, he's such a great little actor in that movie. Anyway. All right, we got to wrap up.
We really got to go.
I got to go. You got stuff that I see your fan back there. Clean that crap up back there.
I know. I got a lot to do.
All right. Hey, happy 4th of July weekend, Barry.
Love you, man. I hope you have a good time. Love you buddy.
You too. Bye now.